What's good, everybody? It's your boy Manny, and I'm coming to you live from the Manny J Media headquarters here in Worcester, Massachusetts. And I'm here with one of my true dear community friends. And John, can you turn my phone off, please? Thank you. You think I know better by now.
Miss Celia Johnston. It's just like Zoom calls where we thought we were unmuted and we're not muted and we're muted, that kind of stuff.
And I've seen some pretty bad, you forgot your video were off some moments, but Miss Celia Johnston Blue of the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition, otherwise known as MAWOC, is here with me, and I'm so happy to have you. I just want to give a little bit of background on how I know you.
Sure, absolutely.
And I met you way back when my kids were little itty bitties going to Abby Kelly Foster Charter School here in Worcester. And I had an issue because I didn't like the way things were happening and things were jiving around there. And I called what do they call it? The board of directors?
Yeah, the board.
And I got in touch with you.
Yep.
And I let you know my problem, and you were like, I got you, bro. We didn't say it like that, but that's how I heard it. And then you went and you dealt with it, and I had just such a fine experience with that afterwards, and I had this connection with you because I think anyone who comes in and does something so great as you did for my kids, like, how could I not want to forever be a friend? But then, like, as fate would have it, we reconnected at Unity Radio, and everything, since there was history. I've been involved with MAWOC, you've been involved with a lot of things that I do in the community and things like that. And I'm just so happy to finally have a chance to have this one-on-one conversation with you. So thank you so much for agreeing to be here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I'm sorry it took me so long. But
No, it's okay.
I'm excited to be here. And, what I love there's so many things I love about you, Manny. The work that you're doing in the community, but you are a rock. I'd be calling you, Manny, can you be over here? Can you fit us in your schedule? Yeah. I got you. I'll figure it out, Celia. Yeah. So you've been an amazing support for us at MAWOC. And as you know, we're a growing organization. And so, we need a lot of support and resources, like a lot of these small nonprofits. And I just really felt the love, respect, and the solidarity with you as a community advocate, and knowing the importance of really working together to create some really good trouble.
Absolutely. and it is. We've been creating some great trouble out here in the community together. And, I think it was just so easy for me, and it still is easy for me to, just jump in there whenever you're like, hey, we need you in the deep end, to just jump in and do what I got to do. Because of who you are, not as an individual, well, that too, but also as the coalition, and what you do, serving our women and uplifting our women and putting our women, specifically our women of color, to the forefront, and having our women respected and just seen as their true value is so important to me as a man. In particular, because I'm a man. Like, what can I do? I can be supportive.
Yep, and you can be an ally.
I can be an ally, but I haven't had that experience. And one of the most important people to me, only because I have kids too, is my mom. Mm-hmm. And, I watched her struggle throughout my life in the community, in getting fair rights for public housing, and all the things that she did, through the 80s and 90s where it seemed like she was all alone at times, where it seemed like she was being called crazy for advocating and speaking up for a lot of people, you know, and in public housing back then, a lot of them were single women of color, right?
Yeah.
In the 80s and 90s. So to see you as one of the representatives of this coalition, which is a beautiful thing, coming forward and picking up that momentum to help uplift women like my mother, thank you so much. It means the world to me because it gives me a lot of hope.
Thank you.
So well, the first thing I'd like to ask you is a little bit about why. What is your reason for doing this work, and what gave you that inspiration of creating Maywalk?
Sure. And
or co-creating, right?
Yeah, right. So I'd like to first give honor to the other founding members, because without them we wouldn't be here today. I don't want to forget anybody, so I always tell people to look at our websites. We have 12 other wonderful women of color from across the Commonwealth that were involved in helping to create Maywalk and to help shape the vision and mission in our priority areas. And they're on our website, so please check them out. They're amazing women.
And that website is?
At maywalk.com, MAWOCC.com.
There you go. Very easy.
Yeah, it's very easy. So for me, I truly believe I'm called to do this work. Many moons ago, this was placed on my heart, really a vision around creating a space and a safe space for women of color. And my vision that was given to me was spiritual, it was globally. So that's where we're headed. We're starting here in Massachusetts, but we have a global vision.
But I mean, you've already taken over the state. I see you all over East Coast, West Coast. I mean, I don't know why I said coast.
I know what you mean. Eastern, Western,
and Central.
We are statewide, right? Yeah. So and I'll pick up in a minute. We are based here in Worcester, which we're very proud of. Because as we like to say, you know, great things happens outside of Boston. Yeah. It does happen in Central. It does happen in Western. Right. And so we're based here in Worcester, Massachusetts, but we are statewide. So we have members from across the Commonwealth. We have allies and supporters from across the Commonwealth. And we also have about 35 organizations across the Commonwealth that we partner with to do our work. Because, you know, we don't believe in really doing this work alone. It's going to take all of us really at the table. And so that vision was placed on my heart many years ago. And as I was navigating my life and my career, it just kept affirming for me just the need. You know, I was generally the first in a lot of spaces I was in, and they were really lonely. Yeah. And, you know, people say it's lonely at the top. It is even lonelier when you're a woman of color, particularly Black women in this country. Let's just be real about that. And so it was affirming for me throughout, but I was kind of running from it because I just knew it was going to be a lot and wasn't sure I was ready for it. And, you know, I believe that things happen. You know, I believe in God, so let me just say that. And so I'm spiritually connected. My family, that's how I was raised, and I believe that things happen when they should happen. And in 2025, I was transitioning. I was in the former Governor Patrick's administration, whom I worked with, who is a wonderful, wonderful leader. And
sorry,
also,
real quick, you said 2025, so I just want to make sure we got
2015.
That right. 2015. I knew we were ahead of ourselves, so I just wanted to make
2015.
Sure. So 2015.
In my head, I thought I said 2015. I hate it when that happens. 2015. I was in former Governor Patrick's administration. I ran a statewide agency called the Registry of Motor Vehicles. And then I transitioned into the Baker administration. And generally when governors change, when you're at that level, you know that they want to bring in their own people. Right. And I was fortunate enough to stay on and do some really good work under Governor Baker as well. Wow. And then transitioned out and really had some time to take care of myself, to do the work to heal, because there's just a lot that you deal with when you're in the public sector. And just I was going through a lot myself personally. And during that time, one of my dear friends, Reverend Giselle Hampton, I had shared this vision with her before, And she reached out to me and said, "You've got to speak to Brenda Jenkins."
Yeah.
You know Brenda Jenkins,
right? If you don't know Brenda Jenkins, I don't know where you ain't from Worcester. But if you're from Worcester, you know, because she's very involved in the
don't
community.
Don't be upset, Mayor Petty, but I do call her the mayor behind the scenes because she knows everybody.
Low key.
Knows everybody.
And even, I think, I would be willing to bet that even Mayor Petty knows that low key she's the mayor. You know, like he got to give her that respect.
Go through Brenda, right? Yeah. And so my friend said to me the night before this breakfast, "You got to connect with Brenda Jenkins. She's organizing a group of women of color here in Worcester, and you have this vision on women of color." And so she's like, "I think you guys should get together." And it was like the best decision I ever made. Like I had other things planned that Saturday. I changed my plans and I went to her breakfast that she was having because she saw the need to bring women of color together. And she was organizing here in Central and was also wanted to look at things politically as well. Because just felt like we weren't at the table. And so I shared my vision about creating an organization. She was on point, and there were other women there in Central Mass that were organizing together that said yes, and then we reached out to some other women across the Commonwealth to be a part of this. And we spent a lot of time developing for almost 18 months, and then we did our proof of, and we had some battles along the ways. It wasn't like vanilla, right? And so, because we were all strong, intelligent women, I wanted 3 areas to prioritize. Some of the founding members wanted 10. Yeah. We landed at 5, and the platforms area I'll get into a little bit. And then we did our proof of concept in Worcester, Boston, and Springfield, and it was really affirmed that we were on the right track. This was an organization that was needed. Folks were like, "Well, you needed to start yesterday." Well, we're gonna walk before we can run. I always use that phrase.
Pretty clear that women want this as well. Right?
Yeah,
they want to be able to come together in a safe space, share these ideas, and uplift each other. More importantly,
exactly, and be with each other and support each other. Yeah. So it definitely was affirming for them. And then since then, we just basically had a roadmap of becoming. First, we got a fiscal agent. We've got to give a shout out to Linda Cavioli, another person who's advocated for women. She was the executive director of the YWC at the time, and she agreed to go to our board to be our fiscal agent, and that's how we started, and we launched publicly in 2017. We haven't stopped since. We've been growing. We're in our 9th year, so we started in 2015.
My math is a little
off. It's okay, but we're still fairly young,
I feel like you've been around forever. Not you, but Maywalk has been around forever.
Well, we're in our 9th year, so we're actually getting ready to hit a really big milestone here, our 10-year next year. So next year, it's going to be on. Let me just say that.
I hope I'm invited to that party.
Of course!
All right, because you guys know how to party.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We work hard and we play hard. That's what I like to say. Absolutely. And we work smart and play hard. We've been 9 years in the areas we focus on. There's 5 areas, but we prioritize your top 3.
Actually, before we get into that, sure. I just want to ask, and please don't forget that point.
No,
I did want to ask a little question concerning how you built all this and brought it together, because now, I'm a man. I don't know if you guys can see that. So clearly, I may be stepping a little out of bounds and even asking this question. But from my perspective and what I see in the community a lot is different communities, whether they're black or brown or both, tend to have some kind of resistance to each other for whatever reason. And it's hard to see, it's like, why can't we all just come together and get along? And you did mention a little earlier how, you wanted 3 focuses where the other people may have wanted 10. So there's little nuances like that, but also culturally, it's almost like we were bred and raised to be divided. I'm not asking you to agree with me on this as much as I'm asking you to tell me how you overcame that perspective from a lot of people who may have been resistant in the community.
Well, the reality is that we are not in solidarity with each other as much as we need to be. I'm just going to be very honest about that. So there were definitely some pain points. But I think from for me, I feel I'm really called to do this work. So it isn't about me. It's never been about me.
Right.
It's been about creating a space for us, for women of color, and also our members starts with high school girls of color, by the way, which we've started programming for high school girls, and I'll get
I
into
love
that
starting
a little
them
bit.
young. Yeah, let's talk about that
in a little bit, right? And so, even in our leadership academy, there's a session around solidarity, and we did that intentionally because there are times that we really need to continue to learn to look at the ultimate mission and the outcome that we're trying to drive to. And sometimes put egos aside. Sometimes that's easier said than done.
Take the personal out of it.
And then, but also listen to each other and really give each other grace. I feel like there's a lot of room still for that.
Right.
But I was really blessed with, the women that started this. And like I said, it was not always, a bed of roses. It really wasn't. But we're able to work through it. And, some people had a different vision than the vision that was initially, I know, given to me, and for example, right? And so trying to create a space where we gave each other room to give feedback and try to navigate that and negotiate,
right.
and,
compromise.
Negotiate, compromise. Where you can try to be a win-win is what I always try to do. And, sometimes folks are like, hey, it's still not what I want. And, we don't have all of our founding members right now on our board because I think people grow and change and want different things. And that's okay. Like, people are in our lives for a season, and that's okay, right?
And sometimes it's those people you learn the most from.
We should be okay with that, but let's try to always treat each other with respect and grace, even if we disagree. So that's been, sort of my mentality, and I was really blessed to have had the leadership experience to help with leading. I led all the work. I mean, I didn't do all the work. Right. I just led. And then there are others stepped up at different times who had different skills and expertise and ran different things. Right. And then we came back together again. And then just kept moving. The way I look at it is I just was very tenacious about moving the ball down the road. Right. As soon as we got here, okay, what's our next step? Okay, where do we need to go from here? Keep it going, recognizing that, especially in our communities of women of color, we're dealing with so much. Right. We have intergenerational care that we're doing between kids and grandkids and parents and great-grandparents. And sometimes we can't show up, and that's okay. So I had to learn that lesson. Be okay with that, but when folks show up, roll with whoever are with you. Whoever shows up that day and can roll up their sleeves, let's go. Let's do the work. And let's just, keep each other in prayer and grace. And, when you can show up. It's okay. And you don't have to show up a particular way either. Yeah. Show up as you are, and we accept you as you are, and we support each other.
And what a great learning opportunity, too, if you all show up as you are. I've learned, with working with people, particularly people I don't care for too much, when you're working and you let all, as you say, the ego, the personal aside, and you're just focused on getting the task done, it's like you let your guard down and you're so much more capable of learning about other individuals. And then once you learn, that's where the empathy starts to build. Yeah,
exactly. Yep, listen and learn. I mean, I think that's a skill I continue to try to work on is listening skills. I mean, it never gets old, and there's always room for improvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So before I rudely interrupted you,
okay.
I thought that was kind of pertinent to the building of Miwok.
Listen, I'm on your show. You can
which I love having you so much in case I
however
didn't
you
express
want to
enough.
go. And I see this as part one, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Are we almost done, John? But you were talking about
the areas. So the 5 areas
building
that we agreed on is political and civic leadership, which we think is incredibly important. As I was sharing, Brenda there was already organizing around that. Health and wellness, and economic power and sustainability, and we chose those words intentionally. Criminal justice and education justice. The 3 areas that, because we just don't have the capacity to work on all 5, our top 3 are political and civic leadership, health and wellness, and economic power and sustainability. So we focus most of our time in those areas.
Which
and
those
then there's a leadership
benefit the other areas.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
It does. And then we have a leader. We also had a vision of always creating a leadership program. And so we're really blessed. We finished our first year of our Intergenerational Leadership Academy, and that was also done intentionally so that we can start really building a pipeline of leaders or girls of color, high school girls. So the program is 12 weeks for women or women of color, and then 2 weeks leadership program in February school break, winter break, April spring break. And it's based on STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And there's also a career exploration and a holistic component, because everything we do is we weave in the healing and self-care that we need for each other. And then they have a 1-year mentorship program. So when you sign up for as a woman of color, you sign up for our Leadership Academy, you're committing to the 12 weeks, you're also committing to the mentorship training that you're going to get, and committing to mentor a young girl of color for a year.
I think that's amazing.
So,
and I'd love to talk just a bit more all of our futures, because that's the most important thing. We're not going to be here forever. We have to
Right.
Why can I talk today? Pass the baton at some point. And with that being said, we just need to take a quick moment to thank our amazing sponsors, because without them, we just wouldn't be able to keep doing what we're doing out here in this community for you. So here they are. Thank you so much for tuning in with us.
Manny J Media is brought to you by
And welcome back to Interviews with Manny. Oh my God, let's try that again. Welcome back to Interviews on Manny J Media with my dear friend, Miss Celia Johnston Blue of the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition, otherwise known as MAWOC. And you know, I have such trouble with names. I mean, look at John. John, am I lying? I mess up names all the time. Celia Johnston Blue is quite a mouthful.
I'm actually pretty impressed. I'm like, usually people mess up our long, when we do the name, the long title for the name.
That just goes to show how much I've loved you guys for so long. You and MAWOC. I got it down. I got it down packed.
You have it down packed. I love it. I'm sitting there like, smiling. Smiling.
There's a little bit of a beat going. We're flowing over here.
Yep.
And with that said, I want to jump right back into where we were just before we took our break, which was your leadership, MAWOC's Leadership Academy. And what an amazing program that is. From my position as a parent, I think it's so important to get our kids involved young. I think it's so important to give them purpose young, and so many other reasons why. I mean, I have my son, for example. We were at a rally at City Hall yesterday for Sonia Massey, which that's a whole nother show. We're not even gonna go there right now. But the point is, I thought it was important for him to be out there so he can see the whole dynamic of what it is, you know, just being out in the community, also for a specific reason, and just being able to learn something.
Sure, and being aware,
and the awareness and all that. But I feel like it's never too early to start, and so being that you have this Leadership Academy, it just brightens my day and gets me all excited, because our young girls do need something to do. Because I don't mind, I say it all the time, I don't mind, it's the devil's playground. And I remember, like, growing up, there was this whole, like, campaign essentially against teenage pregnancy. We won't have to worry about that if there's other things, you know, where kids don't got time to be going and messing around doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? So especially for our young women, to give them purpose other than what they can do with their love or their bodies, I think is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is, again, coming from a man who does not live the experience, so bear with me.
Right. So from our perspective, it's also really important for our young girls to see women that look like them.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so, first of all, that's Miwok, because we're multicultural, multi-generational. And then especially when we do our programming, you're seeing sisters that look like you.
Yeah.
Our career exploration afternoon, we brought in, women of color from all different spaces. Even though we're based on STEAM, we wanted to open it up. So, for example, we got to meet Dr. Charisse from UMass, a beautiful African American sister that's a doctor. Right. They met architects. And just different culture, different background.
And let's be real.
And former judge, so.
Women of color in these roles is new.
Yeah.
Like within the last decade
it's still
or two,
fairly
right?
New because we're still having a lot of firsts. I was a first when I became the Registrar of Motor Vehicles for the Commonwealth. And this is one of the oldest agencies in the history of the Commonwealth. And I was a first back in 2014, 2013. Wow.
Literally 10 years ago.
Right, okay? And so that's the thing is that, we're trying to make sure that leadership, we are not in those leadership seats as much as we should be. Right. So there are a few things that we're doing towards that because we, part of being who we are as Miwok is also being part of the solution. Number one, the Intergenerational Leadership Academy. It's college course. But you'll come in, you'll get real tools, tips, and strategies, and to see women that also look like you with like PhDs and all that good stuff that's facilitating these classes. And wherever you are, you can be, when you leave, feel empowered, inspired, have tools and strategies to, number one, really negotiate, especially salaries, because that's the thing, there's still a huge wage gap, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, because we had a great win last week there. And you're getting the safe space and the self-care and healing journey, which we really believe that goes hand in hand, right, with our work. And then with our high school girls, we're truly creating that pipeline, and we're also giving back. You're giving back to mentor a girl. How cool is that, right? So that's part of, we want to make sure that when that not only when you come to the program that you get these things, but you're going to go back to your organization and really be able to feel empowered and inspired to advocate for yourself wherever you are. And
take on that role for empowering others.
So you can, and advance in your career. And if it's not, and I like to say, this is, the best time to search for a job is when you do have a job. So if you've spent a lot of time and you're not making the kind of progress you need to make, then you really need to start looking, right? And then and how fabulous to be able to see a high school girl, and to be able to mentor them. And they're also being open to the world of science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Some have already been open to it, but it's nice to get some additional affirmation about these spaces where there's not enough of us in as well.
Right. And when that happens, then that's just going to have a domino effect in that the generation coming up after you won't even realize that there is space for them in those roles. I will say, as a Latino man, but also a man who has Jamaican American sons, when Barack Obama was elected to president, I cried. Sometimes I still get goosebumps thinking about it, because that was the first time I really thought, like, forget about me, put me out the picture, but like my son can really be, because growing up I was like, you hear, oh, you can be anything you want to be in America. I knew better because of what I experienced, what I lived, what I saw. When I realized for the first time that my son could truly be whatever he wanted to be, and then again in 2016, I got my dates right?
20.
When Kamala
2020.
2020? It's 2020, yeah.
2020.
I wish it was 2016. That's the problem. By the way, we don't endorse anybody here.
It's like, neither do we.
We're not supposed to do that, but my point is...
it's the historic moment of the fact that we know that what it takes to even be able to be in those
our babies can be anything. It's proven that they can be anything. So, I love where you're coming from with that, and I just wanted to stress the importance of having that intergenerational leadership academy.
Yeah.
It's just so important.
Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely one of our babies, and I want to give a shout out to Congressman Jim McGovern, who got us an earmark.
Right.
So that we were able to launch this develop and launch this program. It wouldn't have happened without his help. So I just want to give a shout out there. It's totally due. And actually, he's one of the first people to give us $1,000 check when we first started.
And
so
I mean,
love
listen, money talks,
tell
so
that story because
thanks,
he's been invested in our work and our organization from the very beginning,
Right.
even when we were total. I mean, we're still grassroots, but even in the very early inception stages, he believed in the work and the need for our organization.
And all this knowing that you cannot endorse him.
Right, exactly.
Just saying. It's a beautiful thing.
But I mean, when our folks are in these roles that can help and give back to their communities, then, I'm one of several. We're one of many organizations that they're helping and contributing to help us do our work, which impacts our larger communities.
On a personal note, but still to that point, as a woman of color yourself, can you briefly speak to your experience, like, just kind of how I did growing up and maybe how many people you saw in leadership roles versus how much it's changed just in the 9 years that Maywalk's been around?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's still a lot more work that that needs to be done, but we are seeing progress, and we should definitely, pay homage where it's due. So, my background is my family is from Jamaica. And so, and my lineage is, Africa, Scottish, Irish. Jamaica was founded by the Taino people. And so I always try to give her, make sure they're always mentioned when I talk about Jamaica, or as much as I can remember to say that. And then we migrated to this country when I was 11 and a half years old. And so I'm an immigrant story, right? My family, my aunt, who's the matriarch of our family, filed for us, and we came to the U.S. And then eventually we were able to get our citizenship. We went through that journey. It was a long journey.
Like,
but my mother,
that's a whole nother show too.
That's a whole nother show.
But it's not easy, right?
It's not. But my mother, I got to give credit to her. She, rest in peace, Mom. She was like, she knew that this had to get done before I turned 18, because once I turned 18, I'm going to be in a whole other system and category, and my life would not be the same, right? So, which a lot of our immigrant communities are dealing with. So yeah, the road, it took a long time, but I'll tell you, it was just so amazing to be able to go and take, they have you to the little test that you got to take, and then whatever. And I just remember that day and how elated we were, to be able to say, yes, we're a citizen and we came to this country and we're also contributing back. So my family was always big in the community from Jamaica. So I grew up with my parents being really respected in the community, really loved. I saw like what love is like with a community aspect to it. Local church, that my father was like a pastor in a church. My mom was the treasurer. My dad likes to say was the brains of the family, because she was really smart, and she was. And so I got to see that, right? And so like the principal knew my parents. Like you couldn't mess up, because then the principal
don't let your mom and daddy know.
Give you a spanking and then go to your parents'
we
home.
Get another one when you get
go home, right? And back then it was like, that was okay to do that, because it was really a village raising you.
Right.
So I got to really learn about community very early on.
I'm so sad we lost that, by the way. 'Cause, I mean, I had the same thing growing up, I wouldn't want to mess up, because I didn't want my neighbors to, none of that.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
now these kids, they be acting them up.
It's just not the same, but another show, right? But we could, we would share resources. Oh, go to Miss Enid's and get some sugar. You know what I mean? It was like that, and vice versa. So I grew up with that sense of community, and then I came to the United States and learned about racism. Yeah. So that was
and all the isms, because there's a lot of isms.
And we
out
were
here
in
a
very, very white suburbia town when we came to the U.S. And so it was just like, wow. You go from a country that you have a lot of black and brown people. We have white people too, but a lot of black and brown. And then you come to another country in the office. And just think about that. Just think about that stark realism, and you're like, where am I? Exactly, where am I? Right. So, but I was really fortunate. You know, I definitely went through a lot of crap from folks, but I also had people that were really good to me. So I got to see the two sides of how human beings are, right? The acceptance side and the non-acceptance side, and really had to navigate that. And we were very fortunate. My mom made us speak, because in Jamaica we speak patois. But my mom always made us speak English at the table. Right. So when we came to the U.S., I easily kind of, I guess I hate using this word, somewhat assimilated, because I was, you know, I already spoke English very well. Right. But I still had my accent, man. Right. So
I didn't want to say nothing, but I'm going to say it. When we were talking off air, because I didn't know you were Jamaican, to be perfectly honest with you. But we were talking off air, and I'm like, she's Jamaican? Because my son's mom is Jamaican. So I recognized the, you can't completely get rid of your accent. No one can.
There's
always a little bit
that I say still that it's like, it's got this little, you know.
I hear you, girl. I hear you.
yeah. But I'm really proud of our country. But, you know, so, you know, having that experience, right, is baked into who I am now, right? And so the immigrant story, coming to America, learning a new country, navigating, people not liking you because you have an accent.
Right. And because you're different.
Yeah, and then you're Caribbean, and so there's this Caribbean, African-American, you know, like I dealt with all of that. So
I always wonder, too, I wonder if people hate on you because they're not different more than they hate on you because you're different.
Yeah.
You know, because they're just so vanilla and blend in with the whole population. Like, Americans are just kind of boring. You know what I mean?
Why?
All right, that was a hot take. You don't have to agree with that.
You're not going
that was a hot take. Anyway.
Yeah, but there's good and bad people everywhere, right? But the thing is, you know, what I love about the work that we're doing is that we're really focused on addressing systems of oppression. Right. You know, the systems that were created by structural institutional racism, and that we do that work every day. And so that really gives me hope. And, you know, there's a lot more work to be done. Don't get me wrong. We have a lot of work to do. But, you know, it's nice to be able to lead an organization that its mission is specifically focused on that.
Right. And not just your experience, but the experience of a lot of people who have endured those very similar adaptations, if you will. You know, just trying to make it. Right? People, whether it's in just school, trying to graduate out of regular elementary, high school, whatever it is, or a career.
Yeah, and then you get in the institutions, and there's a whole other set of oppressions, right? Yeah. You know, so you got to navigate. There's all of these systems of oppression that you're navigating, and especially as a woman of color, and you step into these leadership roles, the amount of stuff that comes at you when you're in these roles. It's really just incredible that where we are today, that we're still dealing with that. You know, you're not qualified for where you are and blah, blah, blah. You know, all that stuff is still real. Like, that still happens. And there is a wage gap that's real. And women of color make less than our white counterparts. That's real. Yeah. We haven't really moved that needle
but you did have a win.
Time. Yeah, we did. That's right. Thank you. You remember.
Let's talk about that win, because we love wins around here.
Yeah. So what I like to say is that we share information and resources. We do programming, and we do advocacy work as well, because we believe in order to really have transformative change, not only do you need to share information, resources, and programming to help educate us, but also legislative changes and policies changes to really create that change. So, and then we're also, I like to say, the largest convening of women of color across the Commonwealth. So one of the areas we're focused on is the wage gap. And so we were on the steering committee for the Wage Equity Now, which is led by former Lieutenant Evelyn Murphy and Megan Driscoll and the Boston Foundation. And that work is around really creating legislation to really address this. And so the Francis Perkins Workplace Equity Act was passed in the legislature last week.
Where, congratulations.
We've been working on that. She's been working at this for many years. We started, Maywalk joined the coalition a few years ago. So this is great. We're waiting for the governor to sign the bill, and I'm really hoping that I'll be there. But what this does
for people
is,
like me who I was going to say, people like me who aren't familiar.
So what this does is, number one, it if you have employees over 25 in your 25 people in your organization, you have to share the salary range. Believe it or not, a lot of organizations, you see job posted and they don't have salary ranges. We want that to be, because you need to be informed. Right.
You want to know what you're getting yourself into.
Exactly. And secondly, you're entitled now to get information on like the previous, colleagues that worked in these roles. So even when you're going for a promotion, you have the right to know what's the history of this role, like what did people make, right? Because we believe once you know that, then that's where you can truly negotiate, right? Because when you don't, and this is why we keep having the man makes more than a woman. Why is that? Because we're blind. We don't know necessarily what they made before we got in that role, because companies don't divulge that.
All right.
Well, so now
you're not gonna let me say it. She ain't gonna let me say it because she knows I'm about to go there with a hot take. But anyway, I'm just saying it's 2024. Like, if you crack our skulls open, don't do that. But we both it's a brain.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with what we're born with, right?
It hasn't moved the needle a lot for women of color in
honestly,
particular.
I think women. I'm just saying, y'all are. I say this all the time. Women raise families for the most part, because even when men are in the families, they're at work all damn day. Which is an important role. They need to bring the money home. I get it.
Yeah, but we're also working and raising families and taking care of our loved ones and going to school and getting degrees. Like women of color especially have been on the advanced degree track. So a lot of advanced degrees in the last 10 to 15 years, and starting businesses too. Right. So there's a lot. There is a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of work.
Historically, nurses, teachers, women, right? For the most part. Not to say that men don't do those jobs, but you think of women when you think of those jobs, and it just blows my mind how the pay discrepancy when those jobs do so much work. They deserve that pay.
And if you think about it, our frontline service jobs, those are really held by a lot of women of color. Right. Which is why when COVID hit, that also became an even more, because they lost those jobs, the restaurant jobs. And they don't have the benefits that goes along with that. So, there's still a lot of work to be done. But this bill, and then also the third part is, there's two other parts. There's a reporting aspect to it so that we can start tracking, right? You don't know, you're not getting the data, you don't know. Right. And then it also gives the Attorney General the right to go after companies that do not.
Some accountability out there.
That do not follow along. So they'll, it doesn't happen overnight. There's always a process for folks to change their systems and whatnot. Right. But this is again.
We're starting that ball rolling.
Yes, and it's nice to be a part of that.
And you never know what can happen in 9 years, because in 9 years, Maywalk has come so far. You have done so much great work in the community. I thank you. It means the world to me, and I hope you keep continuing to do it. And I hope that we get together and have another great conversation about all the amazing things that are happening moving forward. But we are already out of time. And before we want to go, I do want to give you an opportunity to just let our viewers know what Maywalk has going on right now, how they can get involved, maybe even who can get involved. Because, I've been there, and all women can get involved. Right. Men, too. I'm involved.
Yeah, allies and supporters. So, we're focused, our organization is based for women of color and high school girls of color. But we also have room at the table for everyone. If you are a white ally, if you're a male, you can join our networks. You can do that right on our website. If you go on our website, mawocc.com, you can become a member and an ally and supporter. This is the last day for Intergenerational Leadership Academy applications.
So you better run to that website.
And this is statewide, so you don't have to be just in Worcester to apply. You do need to be a member, though, which you can sign up on our website. And then we've got our Health and Wellness Symposium coming up on September 14th at Worcester State. It's on a Saturday. It is focused on multicultural or healing and wellness journey. And so that's another great event that's coming up. And you can just check out our website. We have all of our events listed as well. Excellent. So thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to come back. Let's keep this conversation going. And of course, we're going to be inviting you to our events as we normally do.
I really do love being there, so thank you. I'm looking forward to getting all those logistics settled, getting the email and dates and all that stuff that we normally do to get me there, which I appreciate you so much. It means the world to me to be able to support you as well, and I appreciate your support. In return, you've always been one of my biggest supporters. You've always rooted me on, and we've had conversations where I was not so well and I wanted to quit things, and you really helped to make sure that my head stayed above water, and I thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
And I hope that I'm making it worth your while.
Absolutely.
Today that we're doing the good work out here with you.
It takes all of us, and you know how I feel about you. I love you, Manny.
Oh.
And I think just we just continue to support each other and give each other grace.
It takes a village.
It does. It does.
All
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And with that said, I want to thank you all for tuning in, and more important, thank Miss Celia Johnston Blue of the Massachusetts Women of at the end, I want to mess it all up. Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition, or MAWOC. With that being said, it's your boy Manny and
Celia.
And this is Manny J Media Interviews. We'll see you real soon. Oh wait, Community Delivered. We'll see you real soon. Peace.
Era.